Welcome back to the channel, Leon Sylvester here, and today I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of being 2 years sober. So I've not drank for over 2 years now, but it took me such a long time to find a solution to my drinking problem, right? I tried everything. I tried using willpower. I tried using 12-step meetings and AA. Nothing seemed to work for me, but I found a solution by reframing the way that I view alcohol. So I want to talk about, the pros that I found, but I also want to talk about the cons, because I don't really talk about the cons so much. So there'll be some stuff here that you've probably never heard me say before. And what I just quickly want to say before we dive into this is that if you want my help stopping drinking without AA, without willpower, without rehabs, and you want to learn about the method that I take people through by reframing your worldview and the way that you view alcohol, you can click the link below this video and there'll be a short 10-minute video outlining the method, showing you some testimonials, showing you how it works, and then you can decide if you want to book a short call with myself to see if the Sober Clear method is something for you. But for now, let's just jump straight into it. So the very first pro that you get after not drinking alcohol for 2 years is courage. Strange one, right? So you've heard of liquid courage and Dutch courage. And when we drink alcohol, we tend to take a drink before we do something scary. So if you want to talk to a member of the opposite sex in a bar, you drink a shot, then you go and do it. You're doing this, you're drinking the drink, so it gives you courage, but it doesn't actually give you courage, right? Alcohol, all it does is remove fear. So you don't even act courageously, because for courageous acts to happen, fear needs to be present. When you drink alcohol, you remove the fear, so there's no courageous acting. So when you remove alcohol, it all changes, right? You no longer have something to remove fear. So naturally, fear actually goes up. You are more afraid, right? This just bear with me. But when you stop drinking, the fear is there, but you do the action. So you act from a place of true courage, rather than removing the fear and thinking of it as Dutch courage, liquid courage, which is just nonsense. It has nothing to do with courage. Alcohol and courage are completely unrelated. That is a false belief. There is nothing related to drinking alcohol and courage. But when you remove alcohol, you find real courage. It gets restored, your confidence, your courage, it all comes back. And for me, courage was absolutely huge, because if it wasn't for courage, if it wasn't for being afraid of doing something and then just doing it, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in today. I wouldn't be helping other people stop drinking. I wouldn't be putting myself out there on YouTube, right? When I first started putting myself out on YouTube, I was afraid, but I did it anyway. I took an act of courage. I just dived in. When I got my first client to work with me in Sober Clear in the coaching program, I was afraid. Can I really help that person? But I said, you know what? I'm going to feel that fear and I'm just going to do it anyway. There's been so many examples of me feeling afraid, but I act anyway, and I don't remove the fear by drinking alcohol, right? I don't have that pathetic drug in my life where I'm like, oh, I'm scared, I have to drink. Nah, real courage comes back. The next thing is the improvements in energy. It's amazing, right? You don't have to go through life with that sluggish feeling, the hangovers, feeling like crap. It's gone. It's completely gone. And within a few days or even a few weeks of stopping drinking, boom, it gets restored. Your energy comes back. I feel like I did when I was 15, before I'd started drinking or going down that route, smoking cigarettes, doing whatever I was doing at the time. I feel like I did before that, right? I feel like I did when I was just in my first day of high school, when I had energy and I wanted to do sports and I wanted to do this and I feel like that again, right? And you can probably feel that energy coming off me now. I feel quite pumped because I'm about to go to the gym in a minute. And I'm getting myself in a good pumped up state of mind. But you get the point, right? The energy goes so much higher and you've got this clean energy, right? I'm quite hyper, right? I've got a lot of energy. When I drank alcohol, I would drink and I would sometimes get very hyperactive, right? But then the next day, I was in the dumps. I was like, I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to stay in bed. I wanted to watch TV, order junk food and do nothing. I didn't want to talk to people. I didn't want to train. I wouldn't have made a YouTube video when I was drinking in a million years. But when you stop, the energy is amazing. It's not just me that says this. For some people, it takes a bit of time for the energy to start coming back. The withdrawal periods, all that stuff can take time. It can take a few weeks, even sometimes a month and beyond. But eventually, that natural energy comes back to you, the energy that you had when you was a teenager. So the next pro of not drinking for 2 years is, now this one it's not really something that I talk about too much, but your influence goes up, right? So because you're not poisoning yourself, you feel better about yourself. You feel better about who you are. And because you're not poisoning yourself, other people start to take notice. Because most people drink, right? Most people will take notice of somebody that's been drinking for such a long time. Then all of a sudden they stop. Then all of a sudden they're in the gym. They're working on their business. They're coming home to their family. They're giving love to their wife or their husband. They're giving love to their kids. People notice that. And especially when you've been drinking for such a long time and not showing up with the energy and the enthusiasm and the positivity that you should show up with in life because you've been drinking a poison. When you get rid of the poison, your influence levels increase dramatically. I didn't actually, when I was first stopping drinking, I didn't think that influence would increase. That's like the least of my worries at the time. But I'm telling you, after 2 years, I believe I've become a better influence. So I influence people through the camera, teaching people how to stop drinking, showing them that life without alcohol is 100% worth it, and life with alcohol is the worst decision you can ever make. I try to influence people on that. And it's not just here, like I feel more influential with my family, with my friends, with my clients. I feel like I'm holding myself to a higher standard and helping other people hold themselves to a higher standard. The next thing is the positivity comes back. So when I drank alcohol, I felt pretty negative, right? I was pretty pessimistic. I wasn't very enthusiastic. My thoughts weren't that good. I wasn't thinking, what could I do today to improve my life? I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking, how am I going to get through today? Do I have to go to work? How am I going to deal with this customer? How am I going to deal with this person? What's she going to say? That's what I used to feel like. I don't feel like that anymore, right? I feel positive. My thoughts are positive. I feel optimistic because like these days I can think of a vision, I can think of a goal, I can think of something that I want to do, and I can feel optimistic about it because I know I can achieve it because I don't have alcohol that's trying to pull me back all the time. So my thoughts and my outlook and the way that I interact with people and the way that I put myself out there is positive now. It's totally different to what it was when I was drinking alcohol. It's night and day the difference, right? So you feel super positive, and being positive, I think, is such an important attribute for people to have because anybody can have it. And it's a choice, right? It's a flick of a switch. It's very easy to be positive, but it's so much easier to be negative when you drink alcohol because it's like the default, right? You're putting poison in your body. So guess what? What you put in, you put out. You put poison in your body, it's going to be hard to be positive and optimistic and looking forward to things. So yeah, there's like some of the pros of not drinking alcohol. Now, what's one of the cons? The very first con that I'm going to talk to you about is this one. You no longer have any excuses. If you're not performing in your business, if you're not performing in your relationship, if you're not performing in the bedroom, if you're not performing in the gym, if you're not performing in life, well, you don't really have any excuses anymore. And I'm sorry, but I mean, some people are just going to turn the video off right now because that's going to be too uncomfortable to handle. But basically, when we drink alcohol, we're filled with excuses. I don't have the time. I just don't feel up for it. I'm not motivated. I don't have the energy, right? I just don't feel like it. We all have excuses. When you get rid of alcohol, everything gets restored, right? The energy comes back. The positivity comes back. All of these things that I was just speaking about come back. So now you feel like that 13, 14, 15-year-old version of you again. If you're not performing, you don't have any excuses, right? Because before, you've lived this life filled with excuses, filled with these, shortcomings and these, they're all gone. You no longer have those excuses. And, for some people, that's a con. For me, that's actually a massive pro. Because if I've got no excuses, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make things happen. But for some people, there's some additional pressure in life, right? Having no excuses for not performing is additional pressure. So, I mean, it's kind of a con in a way, but it can also be a positive thing. Anyway, the next one is that you've got to make some, potentially, new friends. If you're an introverted person that doesn't put themselves out there, making new friends can feel a bit overwhelming. It can feel a bit scary, having to go to a club, having to go to, having to go to a gym and speak to people, having to put yourself out there. For some people, that can be pretty uncomfortable, especially if all your friendships revolved around alcohol and you didn't really have very many real friends. You might have to go out there and make some new ones. Now, that can be a con for some people. But again, to me, that's kind of a positive thing because it means I can meet better people and make real relationships with people that don't revolve around alcohol, that revolve around, mutual interests or revolve around activities that me and that other person enjoy. You can make real friendships, right? But for some people, that's going to be, a bit of a challenge, a bit of a hurdle. But when all these things come back to you, that becomes easy. So it's not even a con, right? It's kind of a con, but at the same time, there's a positive element to it, right? And the next one, guys, is that you may have some anxiety. right? I've made videos about anxiety and alcohol before because I think a lot of us, it seems to be very common, right? It seems to be common that people that drink also get quite a lot of anxiety. Now, I'm not sure if they're related in the fact that when you drink, you're afraid of the future more because you just got no idea what's going to happen with your health, with everything, your finances, all that stuff. You just don't know what's going to happen in the future. But I guess like a kind of a con is that you still have some anxiety, right? That doesn't just disappear. Life is still there. If you've dealt with anxiety when you drank alcohol, chances are is that you're going to deal with it when you don't drink alcohol. And sometimes you think that every single one of your problems will go away when you stop drinking, but some things may still remain. Some problems may still be there, especially when it comes to anxiety. Now, let's say that my anxiety when I drank alcohol was a 10. These days, it's a 1.2 out of 10, right? Probably decreased by 1,000%. That's how much better it is now. And, whilst I'm talking about these things as cons, I'm actually talking out of my behind because the reality is that there are no cons. There are no cons of not drinking alcohol. Any con that you can think of is just because you've not reframed the way that you view alcohol. There is not a single con to being sober because there is not a single pro to drinking alcohol. When you remove it, all you have are pros. There are no cons to not drinking. And that's why I always say that the trick is reframing the way that you view alcohol. If you're able to do that, you will only experience pros, right? Sure, life will have cons, but alcohol didn't help you with those cons in the first place. So there is not a single con to not drinking alcohol, right? And if you want help with that reframing process, if you want me to take you through the first principles approach, if you want to see if the Sober Clear method is the right thing for you, there'll be a short video below this video that you can click on. It'll be 10 minutes long. I'll talk about the method. I'll talk about how it works. I'll show you some testimonials. And then if you want to book a 15-minute call, you can go ahead and do that. Anyway, guys, if you click the video on the screen now, you can learn more about some of the benefits of not drinking alcohol and also the one thing that I learned that got me to stop drinking forever. Thanks a lot.